Have you ever noticed your planet turning into a frozen iceberg, even on the hottest days? Or perhaps your world has heated up like a sizzling skillet. Maybe your planet's magnetic field no longer shields you from perilous radiation. Introducing Drill Core, your steadfast ally in mastering nature's complexities. Our experts will assist you in selecting the perfect solution and deliver the equipment right to the core of your planet. In no time, your world will be rejuvenated. Don't delay. Take control of nature with Drill Core.
Hey people, voice talking to you, and today we're digging into a game called Drill Core. Drill Core is a space mining tower defense roguelite where we must manage and defend a state-of-the-art drill core mining platform as we bore our way to the core of a planet. If you're a fan of games like Dome Keeper or Wall World, you'll definitely want to stick around to hear about this one. That said, if you'd like to try the demo for Drill Core out for yourself, I will have a link for you down in the description, as always, where you can also find a link to my Twitch channel in case you'd like to hang out with us when we play these games live. Now, there isn't much of a story available for this title, but that's perfectly fine, since this style of game is much more about the progression and replay value. However, I can tell you that we are an officer of a major futuristic sci-fi company called Drill Core. Our primary service is actually planet cracking, a process seen in several science fiction universes that involves drilling to the center of a planet's core and detonating some kind of thermonuclear weapon. Typically, this is a process used to destroy planets, but at Drill Core, our goal is actually to save the planet. That's right, clients hire us to detonate a core at the center of their planet to reverse some disaster that is making their planet unlivable or otherwise undesirable. Don't ask me how this works, but if we succeed on a contract and manage to reach the planet's core, we can fix disasters such as ice ages, loss of magnetic fields, and much more. Now, this all sounds like an awesome way to make a profit and be a hero at the same time, but if you're thinking it's too good to be true, you're right. The company is primarily concerned with profit, so manning, fortifying, and even fueling your drill platform will have to be done with whatever minerals you could find by mining the planet beneath you. If the harsh days of mining weren't enough, things get even worse at night, when the energy emitted from our core drives hordes of subterranean laser-spitting bugs out of hiding. These bugs will swarm your platform each night and attempt to destroy your core, so building defenses to fend off these insects will be a priority. When you begin a new run or contract, you and your platform are deployed to the planet's surface to begin drilling into the crust. From here, you'll have to start providing your own resources, namely iron, this shiny red stuff I can't remember the name of, and coal. While the first two of these are vital materials for construction and manufacturing, coal is the goal. Since our drill platform runs on coal, we will need to harvest a certain amount before we can descend in 50-meter intervals. Each section, I'll just call them mines, contains exactly enough coal to reach the next, so your objective is to locate, mine, and collect all the coal in each mine before moving on to the next. Of course, you'll also need to be mining for iron and red stuff too, otherwise you'll have no defenses and no crew. Also, resources for permanent upgrades are found down in the mine, alongside alien tech which can be brought back to the platform to unlock new structures. These structures are only available for the current run and can include better turrets, active ability structures, watchtowers, buff stations, and much more. Now, since this game is divided into day and night, obviously, I will cover one at a time, starting with the day. Fortunately for you, you won't have to do all the day shift work yourself. In fact, you'll have a full crew at your disposal. Once you hire them, that is. And hiring new crew will be a regular process because mining, as you're about to learn, is extremely dangerous. We have three kinds of workers at our disposal: miners, carriers, and guards. Miners dig, obviously. The player highlights which tiles they want mined, and the miners will fly down to them and set to work. You can also prioritize certain tiles over others to navigate dangerous terrain and stop bugs from breaching. Carriers are responsible for collecting mined minerals and ferrying them back to the platform. Without carriers, your loot is just going to sit there. Guards are primarily hired to defend your workers while they're down in the mine, but can later be upgraded to also assist with defending the core at night. But mining is deadly work, and you'll need to micromanage your workers if you want them to last the week. Of course, there are heavy boulders and loose gravel that could fall and crush them if undermined, or they could be roasted alive by geothermal vents. More commonly, however, bugs will tunnel out from nest tiles and breach your mine to attack your workers, though this can be prevented if you mine their breaching tile in time. Hunting down and destroying these nests can help reduce casualties, but be careful not to unearth a hibernating predator while you're at it. Between avoiding death traps, navigating reinforced tiles, and searching for ore, there's a lot to keep you busy down there. As you unlock permanent upgrades, there will be even more ways for you to micromanage your workers, such as prioritizing which ores are carried first, or setting patrol routes for guards. But never forget, you're on the clock. Not only do bugs swarm your platform at night, but also the drilling wakes up massive subterranean worms that can wipe out your entire workforce in an instant. So make sure everybody gets back to the platform by nightfall, or they'll probably end up as worm food. You can give individual retreat orders to let some workers finish what they're doing, or call everybody back at once if it gets too hot. You'll need to consider how many of each kind of worker you need, too, because you can only house so many. If you want more workers or want to improve them, you'll need to build facilities onto your drill platform. Your platform starts with 6 free building slots, but 3 will likely be taken up by your first barracks, factory, and lab. Barracks are used for hiring crew, but building more than one allows you to house additional workers and decreases hiring time. Labs are for improving your workers, such as increasing their mining power, health, and movement speed, and more labs means bigger upgrades are available. Factories slowly produce building materials over time. There's more than just work facilities to be built on your platform though, and once discovered, we can build watchtowers which fight alongside our turrets, weapon upgrades, ability structures, and lots more. Now that's all going to require more space, but don't worry, you can always build another level to your platform once you've filled out the first floor. Now I've mentioned ability structures twice now, so let me quickly touch on those. Active abilities are unlocked by building their associated building on the mining platform. The player has 2 separate sets of active abilities, one for day and one for night. Daytime abilities are mostly for mining and let us perform actions such as scanning for ore, revealing portions of the map, boosting workers, or deploying mining drones. Nighttime abilities are primarily focused on defense. These can include salvos of rockets or machine guns, stun blasts, temporarily freeze enemies, or even combat drones. Since we're already halfway into it, let's cover nighttime. As mentioned, the night is when the creepy crawlies come out to try and destroy your core. These waves of enemies can vary in size and strength depending on the difficulty setting, but will quickly become more dangerous the more days you spend inside a planet. You'll need to keep moving if you don't want to get overwhelmed, because the bugs will eventually outmatch you. Now, your primary defense against these insectoid interlopers will be the turrets you attach to the wall of your mineshaft. The player only starts out with a few slots though, so digging deeper presents a twofold advantage. Not only does this increase the space the attackers have to cover to reach you, but it also increases the number of turrets you can construct. There's a fair variety of different turrets to unlock and try out as well. Each has different strengths and weaknesses, and even different ideal placements. Some turrets, like the firework launcher, can use low damage explosives to clear small targets, while others, like the minigun turret, excel at ripping through tough enemies. That's not all though. There's shield generators, mine dispensers, poison guns, and special lasers that can apply status effects like slowness, weakness, and damage over time. Finding effective combinations and placements for these different turrets is a fun challenge. I will say, however, that I didn't get to experiment much with the different weapons because I was constantly pressed for resources. It's possible I was doing something wrong in the income department, but I never ended up filling up the majority of my turret slots, which meant that upgrading the turrets I already had was something I only did when I couldn't afford a new one. I also didn't notice a lot of enemy variety, at night or in the mines. I think there were 2 kinds of bugs underground, one that spawns from nests, and a slightly tougher but otherwise identical one which lies dormant until mined. Oh, and the giant worms, of course. And then I saw exactly 3 bugs at night. Small flies, big flies with more health, and big flies that flew in a zigzag pattern. While it isn't strictly necessary, I really hope there's more enemy variety in the finished version. The addition of some kind of bestiary would also be a nice feature, since a basic description of how different bugs function and putting a name to them can make it a lot more satisfying to counter these evolving threats than simply smashing more and more weird flies each night. I will also mention that I did see plenty of repeats for buildings and turrets I unlocked, but the variety was decent. Plus it's likely there will be more content in the full version than what is present here. However, all of the upgrade trees for anything that was run-based were a straight line. The only upgrades available for turrets was increased firing speed. Worker upgrades were a little better and allowed for a bit more specialization, but overall the variety of upgrades and the directions you could take them in were pretty straight. Now there's one last thing I'll pick on the game for here, and if you've played Domekeeper or Wall World, then you know where I'm going with this. Drill Core doesn't really do anything super unique. The base concept and core gameplay loop are nearly identical to Domekeeper. But, while things are a bit derivative, I do still think that this game sets itself apart enough to not be considered a clone, however. While Domekeeper and Wall World both have the player doing the mining and defense themselves, Drill Core takes a more detached approach, instead having the player direct a crew and construct turrets. At the same time, though, there's things like environmental hazards and active abilities to keep the player engaged and involved in whatever's going on at the moment. In fact, I really enjoyed the strategy of digging out a mine. You have to avoid thermal vents, but they can mine tiles for you if you use them properly. Reinforced tiles can really slow down digging, so you want to locate the ore magnetizing them or avoid them altogether. It's a complex strategy game in its own right that gives a lot of depth to the game that it otherwise may have lacked. Now, I'll admit, these kinds of repetitive roguelikes typically aren't my jam, personally. But I've played plenty of them in my time, and I've reviewed quite a few, so I know more than enough to confidently say that Drill Core is a solid example that does a good job of distinguishing itself while still maintaining its inspirations. Because don't misunderstand me, there's nothing wrong with making a game like an existing one, especially if your inspiration is a good game. But you always want to make sure that your idea is either better than its inspiration or original enough that it's worth playing a different game. While the lack of variety in this demo leaves the former of these requirements yet to be proven by the full version, I'm confident that this demo has shown the latter of these to be true. Drill Core, though derivative and a tad limited, is a fun, chaotic, and extremely addictive mix that left me satisfied with my time spent and itching for another run. If the devs fill this game out, add some quality of life and depth improvements, and expand the variety of biomes, enemies, and buildings, I have no problem seeing dedicated roguelike fans sinking tons of hours into Drill Core. But, in case you didn't notice, I'm just the voice in your head. So let me know your thoughts on Drill Core down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, leaving a like helps me out more than you know. And if you like this kind of content, subscribing is the best way to keep it coming. Thanks so much for listening to me today, and you'll be hearing from me again real soon.